about rural crime, but it is an issue.
It is, and it's unfortunate that it's actually starting to spiral up a wee bit, and the police themselves are very concerned. So they've set up a bit of a workforce, task force to have a look at it and see what the particular dynamics are, what the key issues are, things about, what's the most common kind of crime, the types of people or locations even, and sometimes it's the time of year. They find at certain times of year it spikes up, and so we're part of that task force. Rural Woman has a person on that force, just looking at the different dynamics around it and what can be done, whether it's around the numbers of rural police or whether it's around more community engagement, and sort of just trying to get a handle on the issue and look forward to it.
Are you looking at people stealing sheep for the table, or are you looking at people stealing motorbikes? Well,
there's a bit of both really. The sheep rustling does happen. Sometimes most farmers probably aren't aware. Sometimes just, who's going to miss one or two out of a flock, but the big numbers, that does seem to be happening a bit more commonly. Also, obviously, farm theft. There's the theft of fuel and gear out of farm sheds and vehicles as well. That tends to spike at different times of the year. And obviously an encouragement to farmers to be a bit more security conscious. We've all leapt out of the farm truck, left the keys in it and gone inside. We all do that sort of thing, and we don't necessarily lock them away in sheds overnight, so it'll be a little more savvy on farm. And it's also keeping an eye out for who's new in the district, and those suspicious vehicles. Really difficult at this time of the year after the dairy changeover. There's a lot of strange vehicles you're not used to, so get to know them. Who are they, where do they belong? And what are the ones that are unusual. We also see in rural, obviously, it's a prime opportunity for growing drugs in P-labs and all those sorts of things. You do see that in a number of farmhouses that have to be decontaminated because there's been drugs manufactured. Yeah, secondary income. And we see a number of cases occasionally where it's perhaps recorded as crime. It may not necessarily be, particularly where in the dairy changeover there's been some confusion over who owns which bit of property or machinery that was bought during the year, and the person moves away and takes it with them, but the owner thinks, actually, no, that's mine, so there's a bit of confusion sometimes. Yeah. And then there's the odd stroppy one who leaves with a bit of a grudge and thinks, well, I'll sod you, I'll take the chainsaw with me, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or comes back and picks it up later.
Yeah, so need to just be a little aware of what the dynamics are and see how we can work as a community to help solve those problems.
Because, with all due respect, farmers are their own worst enemies. I mean, they leave a gun sitting in a ute because they know where it is.
Yeah, there are some like that. If they're using them regularly, yes, they are stuck behind the seat and things like that. But and we're not so careful with our farm equipment and machinery. We have open sheds. We don't lock them away. Tend to leave keys in them. Especially gear, bits of equipment, tools and things that, used the chainsaw last week, can't remember where I put it, and it might be a couple of weeks before you actually think, actually don't really know where it is. No one knows where it is, and geez, it must have been stolen. So, keeping an eye on your gear and putting it away properly and securing it.
Are we talking close to towns and cities, or are you looking at people who seem to be a lot more isolated?
I think it's fairly widespread. It's not any particular area or any particular distance from town. There's always the odd occasion where something goes from one farm to the next and everyone goes, ooh, didn't know about that. Someone pops up with a new bit of gear and you think, I wonder where I got that from. So, just keeping an eye on what's going on in your community, being a bit more security conscious on your own property, and supporting each other and keeping the good old neighbourhood watch going in the rural district as well.
Isn't it sad, because there was a time when you'd leave your house unlocked and your friends would come in and make a cup of tea because they knew you'd be in between 10 and 11.
Exactly. And it still does happen a little bit. There are still a lot of farmers who will go off and leave the house unlocked, and you just can't do that these days. It's just not the secure society it used to be.
And I guess you're looking at introducing things like cameras with a recorder going, and that's...
Yeah, there is a little bit of that. Certainly some farms have got CCTV cameras on their main sheds for their big expensive gear. That does happen. There's been some vandalism and things, so definitely some farmers are being a bit more security conscious in that respect too. And of course, with things like walking access, people are walking across your farm, and who knows what they're doing as they go past down some shed, have a look and see what's there.
Yeah, so, and it is the isolation thing.
Yeah, it is the isolation factor. No one's going to see them. So,
no, exactly.
We need to be a bit more cautious there as well.
Exactly. Enterprising women.
Yes, the Enterprising Rural Women Awards, we're just finalising the sponsors again for that, 1 or 2 slots still to tee up, but most of them are sorted, and they'll be open for applications from about August onwards, with final presentation at our national conference in November. So we're again looking for those women who are a bit enterprising, started up a small business and have made it flourish and are looking to move it up to the next step. And small businesses that probably been going a little bit more than 2 years and have less than 5 or 10 staff, just small, small businesses where the women have really got involved. And we've had some really great examples in the past from women down the Maniatoto making harnesses for dog sleds and selling it to Alaska, women making home cheeses, women running forestry truck services, women doing farm-based software companies, so the whole range, and even from the tourist industry, ringing the homestays and the tourist walks across property, so quite a wide range. It's really exciting to see the kinds of interesting things that women are doing out there in the rural sector.
Is there a slight problem with people not wanting to put their hands up because they don't think they're important enough?
I think that's a New Zealander thing. We're all sort of a bit self-effacing, and I know it's not me, it's not my thing. But I'd really encourage people to do it, because all the ladies who've been involved in the past say that as much as being part of the awards, it's the process that enables you to think about your business and market your business, and actually take a really hard look at what you're doing and where you're wanting to take your business. And sometimes the process can be just as good as winning. And they do get great media coverage and profiling while through the whole process from the time their applications come in.
And it's great on their CV when they go to the bank and say, listen, I just want to extend by another $250,000.
Absolutely. Always looks good.
So that's starting off your applications in August on your website?
They'll be on our website, and we will be encouraging our members to approach local businesses as well and do the face-to-face, like, hey, here's the form, get into it, and encouraging them to take part.